Merry Christmas, everyone! We had an incredible year sharing deep insights to the hard questions with progressive and innovative leaders. In case you missed it, here's a snapshot.
But I don't think enough people talk about the fact that it's not a 9-to-5 job and that you will hurt, you'll go through pain, you'll at times have tears and a lot of fears. But if you embrace that and know that it's part of the reality and that this is not a glorified hoodie wearing 9-to-5 job, then I think you're going to scale an enterprise that has you in 10 years being that overnight success story.
Would be passion, vision, and feel the fear and do it anyway. Passion, if you don't have the drive, you're not going to be able to overcome the challenges that you face as you go and create your dream. And with the vision, you've got to have clarity. You've got to have focus. Because the thing is, the last thing, if you don't understand where you're going, forget it and feel the fear and do it anyway. Do you know what? If you don't have the guts to get out there and give it a go and you're scared about being wrong, forget it. Just keep moving forward and know that the next 24 hours will be different to where you are when the world's collapsing on you.
We created the company to apply for a grant, and whilst we weren't successful in getting that grant, it probably would have caused more problems if we had, because we didn't have the financial infrastructure in place. So there's been a lot of lessons and learnings on with that.
Really the ability to take on constructive feedback, criticism, in conversations, in dialogues with people, throughout interactions that you have as starting a business, but not only to receive it, but to seek it out, to ask questions, to go to people and say, what can I be doing better? What can I learn from this experience? And how can I grow as a person?
They're so enamored by the idea of starting a startup and building a business that they forget about the harsh realities of what it is to build a startup. And those realities are long hours, lots of rejection, and semi-frequent text messages from your bank saying you've got insufficient funds.
Well, they come from change. We live in this changing world of changing demands, changing technology, changing supply chains, all of this change, and that change then creates new problems and opportunities that we then need to manage.
But the thing that startups don't know to look for is to look for an opportunity to license your own IP. Is there a way in which you can still get your product or service out to market, but by doing it via trusted third parties? So things that you may have perceived of attempting to do yourself directly, now's a really good opportunity to say, okay, well, who can I appoint in the UK? Who can I work with in the US who can actually help me get this product to market?
Australian entrepreneurs in the health tech space have a unique opportunity to partner with health services and funders in this COVID period. Unlike the rest of the world, Australia has not been hit by the initial surge that we've seen globally.
And so what we've been able to do with the funding from the CSIRO originally is pivot from developing dengue fever to COVID-19. And within a couple of months, we had a product ready. Then the National Institute of Health from the United States picked up the technology and gave us $1 million to our Australian consortium to rapidly develop this test to bring it to the market.
Yeah, look, I think, and this discussion's come up a lot lately, I've been asked, and I think it's COVID. What it has done is a lot of countries are actually looking insular. They're looking at how they build their own economies again. So that's making it tricky in that some of the borders are just, we're looking at other countries and they're saying, no, we want to deal locally. You can get around that, right? So I think there's never an obstacle in business. There's always some way to get there. And what I would suggest is why it's even more critical now to actually look at partnerships.
From the experience I've had, startups, conservative companies, and those that don't have as much management depth needed to be challenged more by advisory boards to be able to deal with the right things and the right priorities. And I suspect this will be required coming out of COVID.
Now, the second thing I'm saying to people is that before you go and reinvent the wheel, go and do a thorough market research. Go and come back with at least 30 competitors or alternatives to your new venture. While their solution may be unique, with all likelihood, the problem itself has been addressed in many different ways by other people.
Relevance and differentiation are critical in order for other people to really understand and have knowledge about your brand.
I also have a pretty broad risk profile. I'm willing to take risks on that others might not, and I don't see failure as bad. I think that failure is part of the process.
Startup founders and entrepreneurs really need to be making conscious decisions about intellectual property right from the beginning. You might not decide to file a patent or a design, but you want to make that decision yourself rather than have it made for you by inadvertently disclosing or commercialising it before the relevant date.
We don't make an investment decision from the pitch. We indicate our interest in actually investing, and then we kick off a due diligence process where a member of Brisbane Angels, hypothetically myself or another member, will be appointed the deal lead to work with the entrepreneur to see if they're ready for investment. And many are not, and they're not ready for the yes. And so we spend a bit of time in the lead up to the pitch to indicate what DD actually means, due diligence, to help the entrepreneur be ready for that. Due diligence is really where the investment decision is made. Interest comes out of the pitch.
The most important learning after talking with a wide range of investors was we really wanted to partner with investors we felt that were aligned to our business vision and our strategy, that really aligned with our values. And secondly, I think people gave me the advice early on to partner with investors who, bring smart money, bring some help or support.
So strategic investors.
Strategic investors, exactly. And
Australia, still amongst developed nations, provides a lower cost base for innovation and technical skill set. It also provides good governance and a strong compliance layer.
Absolutely.
This really makes it a compelling partnership for tech entrepreneurs on both sides to come together.
By facing your harshest critics early, it not only helps you build a better product, but it helps you to build your sales pitch. The other thing, I think, don't be afraid of the cynics, because once you can convert them, they'll be your best supporters.
And I guess at the end of the day, that's where I love where data science can actually bring that statistical confidence to know precisely what a market wants and how can you maximise that opportunity.
When you're in a startup, there's a balance between focus and capitalising on new opportunities in the market. And at Trevello, we're always looking at new horizons and what's coming next. When we first started, our value proposition was primarily around connecting with travellers in destination. We've evolved incredibly since then, and we're now using rich data, location, to create a personalised and curated travel experience.
What they need, particularly again speaking just for the PropTech sector here, they need industry data. They need validation from thought leaders. They need to understand key problems and pain points within the industry so they can create tangible technology-based solutions that service the industry.
Unless we capitalize on this opportunity of developing their talent and matching that with industry and industry problems, what we'll see is basically a brain drain. So we'll see talent having to leave the country to fill in the gaps that are created in other jurisdictions, whilst here there's no opportunities for there to actually solve those problems.
The third reason was that Australia has a very strong clinical trials infrastructure, which means that the clinical data we generate here is acceptable in most of the countries around the world, which is a big advantage for a medtech startup like us.
But really, let's get to the guts of what the practice of law is. It's a generational people business, correct, which is heavily regulated. And there are certain elements which are embedded which will be quite hard to change. So I think there needs to be a focus on those things and innovation in the practice of law as opposed to the process of law. And I think we can see really exciting things will happen.
And it's really easy for us to make assumptions around what that innovation should be. But the best way forward here is a collaborative approach between technology providers, us as aged care providers, but most importantly, our residents and their families, to be part of that process to drive innovation.
And the clever scientists at Zing Technologies have developed a 1,000 cancer gene panel. They've hoovered up all the changes that you can find across all the databases and put them into what we call a NATA certified. That is a government certified laboratory that enables patients to sit down with their medical oncologist and truly understand what has caused their cancer, what treatment options they've got, enable them to get access to clinical trials so even the more exciting new drugs that are coming through may be made available to them.
So at the moment we have a very large missed opportunity with universities. They have all these ingredients which are critical for leaders in this ecosystem to thrive. However, they're still operating in a siloed, bubbled approach, which is industry and educational led. What that means is they're lacking the engagement with the broader industry, with the SME market, to really understand what the real problems are.
If the universities could set some KPIs around number of industry engagements rather than the number of papers produced, then this would set the scene for a new level of engagement and knowledge exchange.
The disappointing thing for us as an ecosystem is that we seem to have oriented around extracting money from the government rather than building a sustainable business or sustainable things that are going on. Now that said, we could do with better help.
Well, I'll start with the easy one, which is council and government, and that's it's easy because as I'm going through the process of building the data centers, I understand that conversation, and it is, having the conversation around zoning and let's do our due diligence in the process, but not take too long, and be open and call in the experts if we need to understand, what the request is being asked for and what the outcome of it is. So let's not make it a 2-year process. Let's try to make it, happen in a few months.
What governments could do to help that is governments, in my opinion, should introduce some specific policies, tax incentives and special visas targeting at these multinationals to help and support and accelerate that process so we can build that robust ecosystem, tech ecosystem for future generations.
Happy holidays, everyone! Thank you for being part of the movement.
Christmas Roundup Tomorrow's Tech, Take 5.
Thank you to our producer and director who's been a driving force this past year.
See you in 2021 with an amazing lineup of guests.
See you next year on Tomorrow's Tech.
Merry Christmas, everyone! Merry Christmas, everyone!